am so excited. I am so excited. Oh, you can't imagine how excited I am when I saw July 2026 new releases. Oh my god. Oh my god. I had a heart attack. I was like, yes! Like, oh my god! And I'm going, she's dead. And there are a couple. What is it? So, I got my co-hosts. So, I was gathering up the books for July's 2000 book releases. And I'm going through them. And I get to this one name. And I'm like, she's dead. Because she was one of my favorite authors. And I binge read her series, and I did it for the channel. And I even did a special extra one that we'll talk about in a minute. But I was so excited when I saw the name, and I'm like, maybe it's another author with the same name. But then I looked it up. No. It's the series. It's the series. So let's talk about July 2026 new releases. Oh, let me get situated here. Ouch. It sucks getting old. But anyways, seem to have lost a little height here. But anyway, this is the D. Louise Book Series channel. And this is where we read books and talk about books, and no special effects, and no theme music, and no fancy smancy stuff going on here. So, tail interruptus. Get your tail out of my screen. What? Alright, so, our first book is The Shadow Step by Mark Billingham, and I've just discovered him, and I'm thinking about doing his books for a series at some point. So it's The Shadow, and it's a perfectly executed shadow step demonstrates synchronized elegance. It showcases a couple in near telepathic harmony with one another. It does not normally end with someone stone dead in a lake. D.S.T. Clayton Miller is a magnet for strange cases, but an innocent man confessing to the crime, that's a first. Things rapidly escalate when the murder that isn't really a murder attracts the unwanted attention of a drug queenpin, a deranged ex-squatty, and a lovesick gangland enforcer. And when a real murder follows and a student is kidnapped, all evidence points back to the same innocent man. Throw in a wobbly dog, a pair of ceramic leopards, and the distracting smell from a biscuit factory, and Miller's only option to save a young man's life is to waltz all the way into the shadows? I don't get it. Now, this book, I couldn't find any evidence, so I can't say for sure. I would have to go through all my books to see. Or I would have to hold a physical copy of the book to see. But I believe, I could be wrong. I could be totally, absolutely 100% wrong. But I'm thinking this is a reprint. But I could be 100% wrong. So this is Ravenous. Beyond the mortal world lies the Skene, a realm of mythic beauty and savage desire ruled by creatures of legend. Here, vampires, witches, demons, and wolves wage war and hunt their pleasures just as fiercely. Now the ascension has begun, an ancient cycle of chaos and destiny that reignites old hostilities and forges faded bonds too hot to resist. A witch on the rise, defies the brutal wolf king who stands in her way. But when fate twists their battlefield into a bed of temptation, sworn enemies become something more perilous lovers. A vampire princess trades her crown for freedom only to be bounded by a berserker, a man whose passive touch both terrifies and tempts her. An incubus and a cunning vampiress strikes a dangerous bargain for survival and profit, but lust becomes the one gamble neither expected. It just sounds a lot like the books. I could be wrong. I could be totally, absolute wrong. Alright. Dark Castillo. I've been looking at. We did Flashback Mondays all those years. We're still doing Flashback Mondays, but when we did Flashback Mondays Romantic Time book reviews, these books would come up often. So I've been looking into this series too. A Dark Path, Linda Castillo. When two young men don't return home from an innocent afternoon of fishing, Chief of Police Kate Burkholder must track them down before the first winter storm of the season bears down on Painter's Mill in the Pact. In Disappeared, Kate races against the clock to find a 2-year-old who has vanished during a violent thunderstorm. Was the little boy swept away in the rising creek waters, or is his disappearance even more sinister? Oh! These are a bunch of short stories that she wrote. That it's a short story collection. That's what it is. In Blood Moon, a man is brutally attacked by a large beast in the woods. Throughout the night, reports of similar incidents escalate, and Kate must confront the creature terrorizing the town before violence tips over into tragedy. And these must have been all, well, it says first time in print, a collection of 5 short stories plus a new one never before published. So they had to have been ebooks before. I prefer, if you're going on vacation, and then an ebook is the way to go, because you don't want to be hauling around a bunch of books, especially the way I read. And someone mentioned the series to me. It's an older series, so I just started to look at it yesterday, and it's only available through ebooks through my library. So I did the first one. I usually don't buy books. If it's a long series, would you stop? If you come up here. If I read the first couple and I like the first couple, then I will buy the next few. But I want to see if I like the series first before I try it out. Unless, of course, I bought it in the thrift store. But I just downloaded this book last evening from my library, an ebook, and it showed up on my phone. And I do not have the Hoopla app on my phone. I do not have the Hoopla app on my phone. And I logged off of the tablet, and it was still there. And I looked for the app on my phone. It was not there. I looked for half a dozen different things. It was not there. I tried all these different things. And then I was like, well, you know what? This isn't running via the Hoopla app. This is running via Chrome. And I don't use Chrome. So I went in, forced stop of Chrome, the thing disappeared. I was like, yes! It's like this thing was eating up battery time. Alright. A Regency just for the hell of it. You gotta do at least one. And this, out of the several hundred, like, I forget how many hundreds of new releases was for July. I only chose 15 that interested me, even remotely interested me. So that's why there's only 15 today. Just for the season, Rachel Griffiths. Lady Charlotte Louisa Aveton knows all of London's rules and, better yet, knows how to break them. But when she takes it too far and stumbles into a serious scandal, she knows only one thing will save her: marriage as soon as possible. With only one summer to pick a husband, Charlotte invites all of England's most eligible bachelors to an extravagant summer retreat at a country manor house. There's a brooding artist, a wickedly handsome Russian prince, and one of the richest men in all of Europe. So why do her eyes keep sliding over to the Duke of Warm, the one man who broke her heart? I don't know. And uh it doesn't say what year. So the book may say what year, but who in Regency time, who invites a group of men to their house? You have a house party, you invite couples or peoples. Who invites? Does your parent? Is she old? Is she old enough? Does her parents do the inviting? Actually, I don't know. I don't understand it. Um. Miss Delaney, Miss Sherlock has another series. We shall be checking this out too. Um. Bubble tea and trouble. When Lily stumbles across five middle-aged women gathered in a dark corner of the tea room for a book club, she friendly reminds them that the inn's no-smoking policy applies to their oddly ritualistic candles. As they head outside, Lily overhears them chalking their bad luck up to the absence of their leader, Katina. Whatever they're doing isn't certainly reading, and their cover is starting to sound like weak tea. While they enjoy Lily's homemade banana bread the next morning, they make their intentions clear, grilling Lily about any past paranormal activity in the Cliffside Mansion. Their attempt to contact spirits have been falling flat, it seems, and the mysterious Katina is catching the heat. Level-headed Lily thinks the real reason is that there is no such thing as ghosts. But Lily's pal, Bernie, has found another explanation. The half-baked spirit seekers have the wrong house. The haunted reputation belongs to the place next door, where Lily's gardener's boyfriend is currently staying. But before they can inform the luckless ladies, the missing medium shows up dead on the rocks at the bottom of the cliff. See what happens. And this other lady has shown up quite often in some of my if-thens for vacation. She had the unwanted guest. And that may show up again, because I'm thinking, we'll see. But anyway, this lady writes slightly scary books. Cherie Lapina, Getting Away with Murder. Jill and Ted adore their New York brownstone the way others adore their children. They have carefully, expensively made every inch of it their own. It reflects who they are, their status and taste. With the grand mahogany staircase and the state-of-the-art kitchen, it is stuff of glossy magazines and real estate dreams. It's their sanctuary. So when Ted's inheritance runs out and he makes a bad investment, they panic. How can they protect their beloved home and lifestyle? The answer is obvious, or at least obvious to Jill and Ted. The death of one wealthy family member from whom they stand to inherit millions could solve all their problems. You've got to be kidding! Now that's pretty sick. That is pretty sick. How about a loan? Until we can get back on our feet. I'd rather have the person than the money. Seriously. Or could you give me some now while you're still alive so we can enjoy each other? No killing. No killing. Teresa Dovell Page, the novel detective. 2020, Teresa, a Cuban-born mystery writer now living in America, gets an unexpected call from her childhood best friend, Estrelle, inviting her to Havana. Estrelle is determined to get answers about a case that has haunted them both for decades. The purported dual suicides of a teacher and student at their high school. Though Teresa doesn't quite understand why Estrelle is taking the story so personally, she's along for the ride as she always wanted to write a novel about this case. Flashback to 1980. 14-year-old Teresa, bespectacled, awkward and mystery novel obsessed, is nosy but a tattletale. She knows who's been skimming off the top of the amphetamine stash in her mother's pharmacy, which teacher keeps cyanide in the cabinet at school, and that their classmate Yo is sleeping with their English teacher. Over the course of one fateful day, Teresa gets closer than ever to learning the truth of her life, her catch-all term for the intricacies of adult existence, even if it means coming face to face with death. So it's 2 stories or 1 story? I'm a little confused here. This lady I stumbled upon Romance in Paradise? No, Paradise Problems. Paradise, something like that. I have to look it up. But I enjoyed the heck out of that book because it wasn't, and I did a review of it, so check out my channel for Christina Lauren's book. I think it's Paradise Problems, I think. I'll put the picture up. Chrissy, put the picture up. It had, I read, what was it? Henry, Emily Henry, is that her name? Emily Henry, I forget. And it was Book Lovers, and I read it, and I only read like the first 11 chapters because it was just relationship angst. If there had been a little something else to it, if there had been a little mystery, a lost manuscript or a hidden room or a missing object or search anything, if there had been a little extra to it, it might have held my attention a little longer than it did. But it was just relationship angst, and I was just like, ugh. And I was recently reading Monica McCarthy's books, and I remembered these books from years ago when I was compiling and transcribing. And there is a hair. Okay. I was compiling and transcribing, and I was listening to audiobooks, and I remember the series as being really, really good. So I was missing the last couple, so I bought the last couple full price. And I started rereading the series, and it was all relationship angst. What happened to the historical factor? What happened to the history? It was just angst. And it was a bunch of misunderstandings. Like, he assumed this and she assumed that, and it led to misunderstandings. And I was just like, really? But with Christina Lauren's book, it was this couple that got married because there was no housing available at college, and so they wanted to share a dorm room, and the only dorm rooms available were the family ones. So they got married, and she did her thing and he did his thing, and they never hooked up at all. They lived totally separate lives. And at the end of the college 2 years, something like that, they went their separate ways, and they supposedly got a divorce, but it actually never went through. But she didn't know that. And he shows up on her door several years later. It's been 5 years since they got married. It's their 5th year anniversary. And his ancestor has died and has said that he must be married happily 5 years before he can inherit. And so he's got to bring her to an island retreat with his family. And it turns out he's a billionaire. And she's scraping by paycheck to paycheck. And he's a billionaire. And she's never once asked him for a cent. She didn't even know they were married anymore. So she's surprised, and he whips her off to this island and buys her all these clothes and stuff like that to pretend that they're married happily for all these years and are living together all these years. And so they have to fake it till they make it to the palace. So it's like one little obstacle. And then the father wants him to take over the business, but he's a professor, I believe. And he wants no part of the business, and he keeps telling his father he wants no part. He keeps telling the family he wants no part. But the older sibling believes that he's lying, and his older sibling goes out of his way to sabotage the whole situation. Are you back? Are you back? Are you coming to visit me? And what the brother doesn't know is that the inheritance are tied together. If you sabotage one, you sabotage them all. So, anyways, now that we've gotten off track, Christine Lauren, the romance revival. 3 years ago, scientist Emery Finch did something completely out of character. She got married to Luca, the impossibly charming landscaper she met on one blistering night in Vegas, who made her laugh, made her dance, and made her feel. Now Emery is consumed by her top research, missing dinners, forgetting anniversaries, and promising herself Luca will understand once her cutting-edge discoveries come to light. Until the unthinkable happens. A tragic accident takes Luca from her. Desperate not to lose him, Emery breaks every rule using the classified technology she's developed to bring him back to life. And Luca would probably thank her for it if he could only remember her. Their first kiss, their sunny Sundays at the beach, their life together is all gone. You know, you need to treasure family members while they're there. I'm just saying. And children too. Children too. There she is. So we The Witch Below the Dreaming Wood. H.G. Perry. Wales, in 1941, as the Second World War ravages the globe and bombs fall from the sky, people all over the world begin to dream of King Arthur. The dream spread like a fantastic plague, flooding people's sleep after night. After night, whispers arise of wonders and unexplained sights, dragons in the London Underground, and the strange lights over Stonehenge. Self-proclaimed prophets claim they are miracles, heralding Arthur's return at the time of Britain's greatest need. Elaine Ambrose never dreamed of Arthur. She doesn't believe in miracles. A librarian at the British Museum, she only wants to protect the museum's collection from London Blitz. It is frustrating to be sent instead to catalog a reclusive professor's private library on the coast of North Wales. But all is not as it seems. Nellie confronts what she's tried to ignore, the dreams of Arthur, but immune, the Lady of the Lake, and her dreams promise not salvation, but a return to the darkness of the last days of Camelot. Hold on. I'm going to try an experiment. I did this the other day, and I was like, fine, turn your back to me. You're on a table. And she got up and turned around. So, are you going to stay with me today? Oh, we've got a puppy doggy book. It's like 6 months, a year old, and I still have the tag on it. Alright. Mr. Rosenfeld. I recently discovered this gentleman writes horror novels too. I'm like, he's the puppy doggy guy. So, David Rosenfeld. Dead men don't play fetch. It's defense lawyer Andy Carpenter's dream to retire. That is the goal once thwarted when he gets a call from Lou Campanelli, an old friend he simply can't refuse, asking for a favor. Lou runs a rehab center, and when one of his patients, homeless veteran, is charged with first-degree murder, he needs Andy's help. And of course, Andy will also be called on to care for the accused dog. But that's okay. What's one more dog? The man Jason Maddox is accused of stabbing to death is none other than billionaire Paul Vincent, an eccentric businessman and inventor. Bickering indicated a great portion of his life to philanthropy, with a soft spot for dog-related causes. This led him to befriend Jason, a physicist and war hero whose life fell apart to the point where he ended up on the streets with his dog, just trying to survive. Why would Jason have wanted to kill him? Well, for one thing, he was to receive a fortune in Vincent's will. That, coupled with the fact that Jason was at the scene, his fingerprints were on the knife, and Vincent's wallet was in his jacket. Okay, that's a significant frame job. Massively significant. How did you feel that someone framed him that way and touched his belongings when you were asleep? You must be an awful heavy sleeper. Usually people on the street aren't that heavy sleeper because they're always afraid someone's going to kill them or stab them or take their stuff. But anyways, this other lady, she scares me just a tad. Lisa Scatterline. Julia Pritchard loves her new life as a wife and mother in beautiful Tuscany, except that she misses her best friend Courtney back in the States. One night, Julia calls Courtney and reaches her as she's arriving at her grandmother's farm in Pennsylvania. Then the unthinkable happens. A dreadful premonition overwhelms Julia as Courtney is entering the house. But it's too late to stop Courtney, who makes a heartbreaking discovery. Her beloved grandmother has been murdered, and the killer is escaping out the back door. A distraught Courtney chases him, but he jumps into a pickup truck and gets away. Julia flies home the next morning to support Courtney in the grief. The local police believe the murder was a botched burglary, but the woman suspects something more sinister. They dig to unearth the truth in a town filled with explosive secrets, and Julia's uncanny intuition points her to the missing pieces of a dark puzzle. Before long, events take a deadly turn, and Julia becomes the target of a mysterious conspiracy. I don't like conspiracies. Do you like conspiracies? I don't like conspiracies. How to Kill a Crime Writer. Okay. After the magic death of best-selling crime writer Annie Morrissey, her daughter Nima comes into her mother's country cottage to take care of her mother's estate. Shut away from the world, Nima doesn't actually have to deal with the grief of her mother's untimely passing until the day that two things happen. The advanced copy of her mother's final book lands on the doorstep, and Leah Rebecca Overton appears in the kitchen. Having a stranger show up in your house would be concerning at the best of times, but Leah isn't a stranger. She's the ultimate competent sleuth heroine from Annie's novels. The antithesis of Nima in every way, she's lived in the fictitious character shadow for years. But why and how is Leah returned up now, and why can only Nima see her? Don't know. Maggie and Arthur's magic moment. Despite college budget cuts that slashed her syllabus, linguistics, and incantation translation, Professor Maggie Linden has also made it to the end of the spring semester. To celebrate, Maggie attends a magical masquerade on Beltane. Maybe the end of the year frenzy explains why she kissed a masked stranger at the festival, though her celebration may have come too soon. An accident in the lab of famous and famously broody alchemist Arthur Tellison sets loose a dangerous haunting magic called a pall that renders the nicer parts of the academy building uninhabitable. Maggie's assigned to share her tiny basement office with none other than Tellison himself. With his insupple attitude and unfortunate good looks, Arthur makes it impossible for Maggie to concentrate on anything. Hello. How are you? How's my girl? She's a twip. She's a twip. The Mysterious Affair of Judith Potts. Judy's having an affair. Someone is killing celebrities in Marlowe. First, it's a famous soccer player, then a best-selling writer. When two shocking deaths rock their quiet riverside town, Judith Susie and Bex, the unstoppable Marlowe murder club, must untangle a dangerous web of blackmail and scandal to catch a killer. But with their trusted police ally DJ Milk suddenly suspended and Judith's own past threatening to resurface, the women are on their own. Can the Marlowe Club do it? Okay. So, I don't know if you know this or not. Do you know this? I'm going to tell you anyway. There's a few. There's probably more, but I only know of these few. I know that Stuart Woods has a ghostwriter. There's someone writing somebody that he wrote a couple of books with jointly towards the end is now writing his last book came out after he died, by the way. His last with his input came out after he died. And now there's a ghostwriter writing his books, or another author writing his books. It's his name on the books, but then it's the other authors underneath. Stieg Larsson, I think it's his son that's doing it. Clive Cussler, I think it's his son that's doing it too. There's a couple of different authors that have ghostwriters. So when I was doing the July 2026 books and this name came up, I was like, did she write this before she died? Is this another author with the same name? And it turns out it's the lady's daughter. So, and the series has jumped a huge amount of time. And she's combined the two series. Victoria Thompson had two different series. She had the Gaslight series and she had the Counterfeit series. She had the two series. And I'm not sure. I haven't even thought about looking at it and see if she has a Facebook page to ask, or if her websites. I haven't looked. I didn't even think about looking, but now that I think about it, I'll look because I want to know. Is this a wrap up? Is this the daughter's way of saying goodbye to her mother, combining the two series and doing a wrap up? Or is this the daughter's way of continuing the series? But I do not know. But the series has jumped a huge chunk of time. In the past, the books went monthly or maybe a yearly, but this book jumps a good 10 years. A good 10 years has passed since the last books have happened, even though it's only been 2 years since the author died, 2 or 3 years since the author died. So, and this is, excuse me a second. So, it's listed as a counterfeit problem. So, I think it might be book 6 or 7 of the counterfeit, but it would be book 20 something of the Gaslight. But the novel is, and it combines characters from both series. So, like I said, I don't know if this is the daughter's way of closing them up or starting anew. I don't know. I'll have to. I need to go look, and she'll probably do a little publicity in June, July. So we'll have to see if there's a Facebook page. I never even bothered to look. So, Elizabeth Bates must use everything she knows about the art of the con to stop a fellow scammer in his tracks in this new first ever thrilling crossover in the Victoria Thompson universe, featuring characters from her best-selling Gaslight series. Famed former police detective and turned private investigator Frank Malloy and his wife Sarah come to Gideon Bates desperate for legal guidance. The Malloys' adopted daughter Catherine, a budgeting star of the stage, has announced her engagement to a man she barely knows. Catherine has recently gained access to her trust fund, and Sebastian Talbot appears very eager to marry her as quickly as possible. And if you have not gone through all of my Gaslight series, please watch all of those and then watch the Mrs. Ellsworth after it. Frank started out as a detective, and when he inherited his money, he's opened a private investigating business with Gino and Maeve. And I love Mrs. Ellsworth and all her sayings. And Sarah was estranged from her parents, and they worked their way through it. And the Counterfeit is a really good series too. So they're combining characters from both. So please go watch all my videos on those. I'll have to make a link. As Gideon and his wife Elizabeth investigate, it becomes all the clearer that Talbot may not be who he says he is. As a former con artist herself, Elizabeth suspects one may be in their midst. Undeterred by her pregnancy, she must pull out all the stops to out swindle a swindler and save another woman from ruin. Yes, ma'am. And that is the end of If Then Friday new releases 2026. And hey, if you could catch us, how's it going there, ma'am? If you could catch us, Star Trek Voyager recaps on Fridays or Star Trek Next Generation recaps on Friday. JD Robb discussions on Saturdays, unboxing on Sundays, flashback Mondays, and of course my daily book reviews. And I need to go check out that book I downloaded from the library and see if I like it or not. It's a time traveling book that's really quite old that I didn't know existed. If you haven't seen my time traveling, go through those if then time traveling list. And I've got a couple standalones to read. Nora Roberts that I itched and bitched and complained about. It needed a little Eve Dallas in there someplace. It needed something. But anyways, are you gonna take a nap now? You think? You've had a long hour? Ah, have a good day. Have a good one.